Hello and welcome to the Ramon Foster Show, starring the one, the only Ramon Foster over there in the other box. He's the
Yay.
11 years starting National Football League guard exclusively for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He didn't know it when he signed it, but it was an exclusivity contract.
It was. I was exclusively a Steeler and nothing more, DK. And I ain't got a problem with that whatsoever, man. What you think about that, Johnny Rockets?
Johnny says we're sponsored by Rochelle. We're not in a position to argue anymore with that particular concept.
No.
This whole event, Moan, is starting to feel real. It's starting to feel like a really big deal. And man, consider where we were just a month ago.
Yeah.
You know, plotting out next season, the draft, firing Tomlin, rehiring Matt Canada just to fire him again.
Yeah.
Yeah. What a change.
Everything. And still, again, whatever happens on Sunday, we live with it, win or loss. But if it's a win, we really do got to start considering, what do you do with Coach Faulkner and also Coach Sullivan? And then the bigger question is if we win with Mason, and Mason's been named the starter, right?
Oh, yeah.
What do you do with Mason? And I ain't got no problem with either one of those questions. I will, of course, question the coordinators because I don't know what that is. But I'm also one of those dudes that constantly say, until it's real close to the heart and to my feelings and how I feel about my team as far as the Steelers go, I don't want to have the same old retread when it comes down to offensive coordinator or coordinators at this point right here. Sullivan's calling it. And the idea that Coach Faulkner is, assistant head coach type of the offense, is still somewhat questionable for next year. This weekend is going to answer a lot for us, though, DK. It really is.
Let's ding that there bell, huh?
I felt like you was going to say you heard me winding down in my conversation because I got a lot more about that conversation.
I can tell, but the bell, it does take priority around here, doesn't it?
It does take priority. Let's officially start the show.
I can see all everybody wants to talk about is the weather and 4 to 8 inches of snow and 50-mile-an-hour gusts. We have no idea. They don't have any idea. And also, it's Buffalo.
It is.
Yeah. It's the Buffalo Lake Erie area, I should say. We have no idea what's going to come of that. I'll tell you this, whatever the weather would be in Buffalo, it can't be worse than what they just played through in Baltimore. I'm sorry.
No.
Sorry.
If anything, they're conditioned for that type of stuff. Like we had I'm going to make a big deal about it because it's that time of the season. We had a big old DK explosive touchdown in that raining element of the game, too, in that rain game that we call Baltimore. Like that played a part like that. If that don't give you confidence as this team being able to handle the weather, cold weather don't really bother players. It don't, especially when you got to pound the rock on the ground anyway. Yeah.
71 yards through the air, all of it involving precision timing and precision footwork, and all of that happened in the worst conditions we've ever seen. So, that's just how that is. Go ahead, Moan. You were on a roll there.
Yeah, just this weekend in general, what this means for this team. Like, it's every big moment is always a moment like this, but like this one in particular, where this team is at a fork in the road with major decisions. Like that's the thing with me. It's a fork in the road with a bunch of major decisions with a lot of young talent on the offensive side. Le'Veon Blizzard game, big time in Buffalo.
Go ahead, finish, because I'm going to leave this on the screen because I want to talk about that one.
But depending upon how they perform this weekend, like we all say that we think that Coach Tomlin needs new eyes on this offense. We all say we think this offense needs a more progressive play caller. We think there should be changes at left tackle. We don't know what the quarterback's going to be. Can you be out on Kenny Pickett in year 2, going into year 3? Those types of questions. If they win, we get more answers and more time to decide that stuff. If we lose, depending on how they lose, then we'll have to revisit a bunch of this mumbo jumbo going into next year anyway. I mean, free agency comes up. Mason's a part of free agency if he performs well. Let's say the defense gives up 42 points and the offense scores 41. Is that Mason lost the game? Or is, hey, the defense they came up short at the wrong time? Because if we score like that, and I know, of course, that's I'm just throwing numbers out there. But if we score like that, or it's a 1-point, possession game with no turnovers, we'd be idiotic not to consider Mason for next year. And that decision being made, do you step on the shoes of Kenny Pickett moving forward? So I like all of this, to be honest with you, but it's a fork in the road for me.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying. Sometimes people use the word pivotal as to mean only important. Pivotal, what it actually means is you're going in one direction or the other. Yeah. Now, you're never going to see the Steelers truly rebuild. Never, ever, 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 ever. But then in the NFL, you don't have to truly rebuild. You don't have to tear it all down.
Right.
With the way the salary cap is and how quickly you can get help from a draft, you never have to do that. But you can change directions, and you can change quarterbacks, and you can change coordinators, and you can change things that make a seismic difference in the way your franchise is run. What if, for example, we've brought it up somewhat jokingly once, but the 3-4 defense, and you just say, hey, that's enough of that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different ways to look at this, and it feels like this game could swing things in one direction or the other, where what about just like we didn't even mention like Cam Hayward coming back or not.
I know, and Robert said the same thing. Just think how the peanut gallery, if they lose, like a lot of that type of stuff that we've actually put to bed with a lot of stuff, right, DK? Not necessarily put to bed. I'll say this, Tyler, I love the outside perspective, but Ron Rivera for DC, I think Coach Austin's done a real good job with the injuries that they've had, okay?
Every last one of these comments about the weather keeps making it worse.
Let's
Ready?
do it. Let's do it.
Buffalo's now expecting 3 feet of snow.
Yeah.
And 40-mile-an-hour winds. Buffalo will no longer exist after this weekend.
It's a snow globe. Snow globe, DK.
Here's Hodge just comes in and says 1.4 inches called for during the day. That's basically closer to what I've seen. It's something like a 1 to 3. That's not a snowstorm. In Buffalo, that's just a day ending in Y.
Dusting.
Oh, that's this.
That's dusting.
Literally this.
They still jump off tables into the ground with that type of stuff, man. Absolutely, DK.
Oh yeah, and for them the snow is a blessing because it just lessens the fall.
Oh, so riddle me this, because you brought this up, the snow globe game we had last time in Buffalo. Now that was a snow game right there, okay? What was your takeaways from that game the last time, if you remember correctly?
My take on the game was that it made very little sense to me at the very beginning, okay? I've told you this before, but in Buffalo, the press box is behind an end zone, which I love. If I had my choice, and I don't, they would all be there. Okay,
TV version, basically, or film version.
That's it. It's like watching the game in all 22, right?
Yep, I agree.
So you guys took possession early on, and I'm thinking, how are they going to run in this? Like, what is it? There's no footwork here. And on top of that, Lev doesn't really see. Oh, my goodness. Because he got A, the push. That was a credit to you guys. Yeah. But B, he just motored. He did not care about the snow. This is somebody who played his college football in Michigan and just
that's what you do.
And Buffalo never, ever, ever had an answer for it.
No, did not. And again,
I was kept waiting for it. It just didn't happen.
I was inactive because of injury that game, but I remember that game specifically. It wouldn't stop. They wouldn't stop piling it on. That's where you start as a team, man. That's where you start as a team, and coach asks, come to the sideline, hey, what y'all want to do? And it's yes. You don't even have an answer for it, but everything is working, because if you can start the game with one of those runs and you see that you can win the line of scrimmage in those type of conditions, it somewhat bothers teams. It does. And again, I'll say this too. Y'all know the defense has a rhythm and method in how they play too. 3 plays and they're out. If you start leaning on teams this time of the year, which is why the run game is always an emphasis in Pittsburgh, it's not for, hey, we want to play an old style of ball. We at all times in Pittsburgh have played really good defense. That usually comes first, right, DK? When you mention Pittsburgh, defense is always big. And then it's the line of scrimmage. And then it's the attitude of your players. Quarterback with Bradshaw, Ben, Cordell has been a bonus to see them do what they've done in Pittsburgh, right? But that guy's always a type too. Tough, rugged, SOB is what you get out of quarterback play in Pittsburgh. So from there, the emphasis on the line of scrimmage and your bigs being good is for this time of the year. And that's the component of football that you have to love. It's the physical element of imposing your will in situations where the weather is not in your favor, like it wasn't in Baltimore, like it wasn't the last time that Pittsburgh played a snow globe game in Buffalo.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's important for guys like Mason Cole this week. Snap being good. Broderick, it's a little bit different in the playoffs. That's another conversation that has to be had, DK. There is a different switch in the playoffs. That's how we approached it. Whatever happened during the regular season, I love the momentum that we have, and the momentum is good to take into the playoffs because it matters, because you know you can win against anybody in very tight situations. But the mentality of playoff football is so much more different, and I think that's what we have to have this week. No, I know that's what we have to have this weekend going into Buffalo, because if you can repeat what we did last time in Buffalo in this type of game with snow and they got to come out and dust off the lines, I feel better about our group, DK.
It's going to be a different kind of game, that's for sure. And some of it, to an extent, is going to be dictated by the weather, not to the extreme of what we're seeing over here in these comments. Nowhere near that. You know, we're still, unless, of course, we're referring to Hurricane Rudolph coming in off the shore.
Is that what we got going in, DK? Hurricane Rudolph, man.
This is not a big deal, people. This weather is not a big deal. At least not, you know, for what we know right now. This is just not a thing.
No, it's not. And I don't think it will be, man. Here's the thing, too. Guys do we get cold in the game? Yeah. But as soon as we go to the sideline, we warm up, and we warm up big time. So by the time that you go on the field, the myth that it's freezing out there, not so much. The only thing that matters is your toes and your fingers. That's all that matters in those moments. Football becomes football, but with snow on the ground and potentially a frozen field in some points of it, the slippery side of it, I think is more advantageous for the offense than it is for the defense. So.
Yeah, the Le'Veon Bell game, and you'll remember this too, they had people out doing the sidelines. They had people using shovels and scraping the sidelines so you could see where the yard markers are during the game.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that was fun.
It was fun. Those games are fun. Miami, when the Miami game that we were almost in and out of the playoffs too, when AB stepped on the line at home, remember that one?
Yeah.
That was a fun game. Like, snow games are fun. I absolutely love snow games. And rain is too, because it does slow down the defense. There are some advantages in that. The same way that the defense gets a big advantage, in my opinion, playing indoors inside of dome stadiums or hot weather places where they can get a good grip off the line of scrimmage.
The best line yet comes from George, who says 1.4 in Buffalo is grilling weather. Hey, Moan, how about we get into the only segment that matters? We can do that.
I'm with that. That's Hey Moan, DK.
At DK Pittsburgh Sports, we take pride in coverage that connects our city's fans to their favorite teams. Now, that connection's stronger than ever. Introducing our all-new state-of-the-art app. Find expert inside reporting and original podcasts. Check live box scores. Track the latest stats. Chat it up with our community of thousands of fans, all in one place. The new app from DK Pittsburgh Sports. Coverage that connects.
And then everybody becomes a weather expert too. Like, how many people who actually use this terminology, lake effect snow, actually knows what it means? Like, everyone just says, "Oh yeah, that's the lake effect snow," right?
Inform us, D. Tell us, DK.
Oh, I don't know either. I'm not playing smart here.
Oh,
I have no idea what it means. But it's just every time we talk about snow in Buffalo, they'll say, "Oh yeah, the lake effect snow." What the hell's the lake effect snow? What is that?
The only way the lake effect has ever bothered me is going into Cleveland and seeing that water sloshing up against those rocks, and it's ice over there, and it's windy over there, and it's cold over there.
It's a cold that penetrates your soul. Well, they make us park out there. That's actually the media lot. That's what they think of reporters.
That's where you're at?
Right against the water. Like my car is like 5 feet from the edge of the water.
You come back to an ice cube.
And I actually, one year, I videotaped myself. This was just about 5-6 years ago, walking from that water.
Oh my gosh.
To the media entrance to the stadium. And the video did quite well at my expense.
Look at you being surprised by it, DK. Hey, I got a good one to start off the Hey Mon with, man, since we're talking about this game and what it means. You ready for it, man?
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
From Slap Murphy, DK. He goes, "Hey Mon, will Tomlin coach like there's nothing to lose or be conservative like his standard? I don't think he's had a standard of being conservative. I think he probably doesn't play the games of analytics to go for it on this down versus that down. I think that's a coaching thing too. Slap, I would tell you, calling you Slap is crazy.
Yeah.
Murph, I will tell you this when it comes down to picking when and where you want to have aggressive moments. Go back to that video of him telling Coach Sullivan, hey, go for it. Give me a rhythm throw to where we're playing beyond the sticks and stuff like that when he had Mason in there. In the playoffs, you can't be conservative. Playoffs aren't also meant for trick plays and all kind of silly stuff, double reverses, pass, flea flicker stuff either. You do have to play the game, but you also have to stay in the game to be aggressive too.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it. If you think back to these 3 weeks and Tomlin's message throughout the facility on the South Side has been the scared money don't make money. And then they're 3rd and 1, Mason's taking shots because he sees certain matchups that he likes at the line. Mason has been given, and so have the coordinators, not just a green light, but a flashing, screaming green light from the head coach. There's an NFL Films excerpt where you can pick up Tomlin saying to Mike Sullivan on the sideline, I want to see more. I want to see more. Okay, now you have to temper that.
Yeah.
If it's a snowstorm and there's 50-mile-an-hour gusts, I'm not asking Mason to make a precision 18-yard throw on an out route the way we were seeing in Seattle.
Yeah.
Okay. But the fact is, through almost all of this, the Steelers have had inclement weather and have still attempted to make plays downfield. And so my feeling is that you're going to continue seeing that approach because it has worked for a month now.
Yeah, it has. And why, to your point, live in your fears with that type of stuff. What was that one, DK? I missed that one. I saw something about Vrabel, Belichick.
See, I put that up because, Mike gave us a nice contribution.
Appreciate you, Mike.
If Mike Tomlin takes a year off, get Bill Belichick and Mike Vrabel in as temporary coaches, see what happens. Yeah, or maybe Josh Heupel. This is the time of year where everybody who loses their job somewhere else is undoubtedly coming to your team. You know,
it's better than your coach. Let me ask y'all this, and you can answer it in the comments. Yeah, my answer is no, they're not, or just as equal. Do you think Belichick and Vrabel are better coaches than Coach Tomlin? Like. I know Bill has.
There's a case for Bill Belichick.
There's a case for Bill.
Anybody. Yes.
But can we also point to Bill in these last 3 years minus Tom? Who's done a better job, DK?
Yeah, it's a different in football. It's always a different discussion than it is in any other sport because in football you're involved in all parts of the process. You're involved in the drafting. You're involved in the selection. You're involved in the development. And yes, of course, now you can see in hindsight that in New England, a lot of that was about Tom Brady.
So I just want Michael Great. That ain't our entire conversation today, but the conversation that we have a bad coach in Pittsburgh, look at the changes that we've had and you balance it up at the changes that other teams have had. I don't know if you want to say that's just Pittsburgh on its own standard, right? Or whether you want to give credit Okay, if you want to give credit to Coach Tomlin and how you're able to sustain this level of winning, because DK, you said something earlier too, as we at some point transition to the offseason, you're never going to be sorry enough to actually have a top 5 pick too.
Mm-hmm.
When it
Jamie Morris comes in from Canton and says, "Hey, Moan, greetings from the Hall of Fame city. FYI, and this is worth mentioning to the viewers of this program, the Pro Football Hall of Fame is going to have a Steelers exhibit that's running from January 20th to February 19th. I have seen some of the details of that, Moan, and it's impressive.
It's must see.
They have the good stuff. Now, the Steelers have their own Hall of Fame and their own Hall of Honor and all that other stuff, and they have some, but the Hall of Fame has stuff that nobody else does. Well worth your stop out there in Canton, and I appreciate the note there. Mike in Texas says, "Hey, DK and Moan." I like the Moan.
What up, Mike in Texas?
Who do you think is going to be the quick slant weapon? Meaning for Buffalo, Diggs or Davis if he plays?
Diggs is the go-to. It's playoff
Diggs is the guy, man.
Yeah.
What are we talking about here?
Almost answering another question too. I had Star too. Will Joey Porter Jr. follow Stephon Diggs? I think so.
I think he's following him now somewhere.
Yeah,
he just followed him into the shore save up in Orchard Park.
Yeah, I think so too. If we can get to Josh Allen, man, and make him scramble, I think Joey Porter Jr. is savvy enough to where he can track him the way he needs to. And all out shellacking from Stephon Diggs to Joey Porter Jr. The kid stood tall so far. He has. A young fella stood tall so far, man, and I absolutely love that matchup. He matched up well against DK. Everybody, Jamar had a circus catch against Joey Porter Jr. That's essentially all he had against him, man. He's been that type since he starting.
Everyone, again, still claiming to know what lake effect snow is.
Gene, you ain't even tell us what that was. You just said, I know.
Yeah, I like that too. Jesus, well, yeah, I know all about that. Dot.
Enlighten us, Gene. Come on. What are you doing?
It's a humid, wet snow.
I live with that.
All snow is humid. It's humidity is just moisture.
Yeah, it is. Speaking of that, don't change that topic real quick. Andy, man, first time I feel like I've seen Andy in here. Andy says, "Hey, Mo, do you suit up any differently in this cold weather? Only thing that changes, they have cold weather tights for us, and they got thicker socks. There are some real thick wool socks that you can put on, and there's a thicker Under Armour that you can put on. Marquise, Dave, they used to put on those surfing wetsuits. A bunch of guys actually wear surf wetsuits in the cold.
They make surf wetsuits in offensive lineman sizes.
Was
Wow,
it Dave? I know Pounce wore it. Pounce for sure. He be in there unstrapping like a friggin' surfer. Seriously, it may have just been Pounce, not Dave.
That is something. It just reminds me of in Baltimore how Miles Jack was trying to get onto the bus, but he couldn't find any socks, and he's just that really tight room in Baltimore. Yeah. He's just going around, everybody, "Hey, I need socks. Anybody got socks?" And he wasn't talking to the equipment guys. He was talking to his teammates "I need some of your socks here."
To his teammates, man. Hey, look, even guys that make what they make need a little bit of help, DK. Can I borrow some sugar, please?
A fine young man named Nick Herbig ended up getting him a pair of socks.
I bet he did. I bet he did, DK.
He sounded so sad, though. I was going to loan him mine.
That's what he get for wearing those Italian-made shoes after the game and stuff.
Mike says, "Hey, Bone, who has 2 thumbs and went 5-1 in the best division in the National Football League this year?" The Steelers. Is that a variable in this, though? The AFC East was nothing special. I looked at Buffalo's schedule. We talk about ugly losses on the Steelers schedule. Man, they had some too.
They did. And
Jets and Patriots and
Jets, Patriots. Oh, golly, there's a few more. I'm looking at their schedule right now, DK. They lost to them just real Jets in overtime. Lost to Jacksonville. We did too. Lost to New England. We did also. Cincy, swept them. Denver lost to overtime to Philly, and they had a bye week with a reset. And they've been on a 5-game win streak so far. So, yeah.
Roscoe says if Coach Tomlin wants a contract extension, he'd better win this game. Actually, he's getting one. Whether you issue an ultimatum or not, Roscoe, sorry.
Roscoe, I'm sorry. Look at his compadres in the business that he's in.
Luke wants to know what you think about Dan Moore, where he can go, where his game can go in general, independent of the weather and the attack.
Y'all don't want to acknowledge and hear this.
Let's hear it.
Dan Moore ain't bad. I know what PFF has said. Is he great? No. Is he average to slightly above average? Yeah. I talked to somebody that's very particular to Pittsburgh today.
Okay.
And they're very fond of what that young man is capable of being. It's the same thing in the way you got to view and judge quarterbacks, essentially. O-lines grow and get better. There are terrible tackles around the league. Dan Moore ain't a terrible tackle. And I know what PFF said. If we're going to bash PFF for saying that, what is that, win rate? And
Pass
that Myles Garrett
rate
is the effing. I'm almost going off on this one because I hate that we do this as fans of our own team. We justify what we do and don't like, but also hate the same thing too. Like, Dan ain't a bad tackle. Does he need room to grow? Yes. Has he gotten better over the stretch of wins? Yes, he has. But Broderick Jones had a bad one too. I mean, let's talk about, like, even Isaac, who's not giving up any sacks, has had moments too.
Isaac's had some real moments of late,
but
meaning
because
in a good way.
The narrative is being painted that Dan is a bad tackle. And my relationship, I don't have his number in my phone. I don't communicate with him. This is me watching an offensive lineman gradually run his race to learning how to be a better pro. I don't think Dan Moore is a bad tackle. If they get rid of him, move him to right tackle, whatever the case may be. But you got to also think about this. You move him, there's a new guy coming in also with no experience or overpaid free agent tackle. And most teams don't let go of their really good tackles. So think about what you're asking for somewhat when we go on this bash fest with Dan. I'm sorry I went on that rant, but PFF, y'all know how I feel about them. We can justify some things, but you guys are the same ones that hate them crowning.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Myles Garrett too.
Yeah, you can't have it. I say this a lot. You can't have it both ways when it comes to PFF. You can't rip them whenever it's something that you don't like, for example, the TJ Watt comparisons, but then say that they're absolutely accurate whenever it comes to Dan Moore or another subject that kind of favors a preconceived notion that you might have. My feeling on Dan is that he has done quite well in run blocking, and it has not been appreciated. And at the same time, that he's got work to do when it comes to pass blocking. Okay, and you said that yourself, Moan.
And pass blocking is the hardest thing to get down.
And you've also said that, especially for a tackle. No offense.
And what are we most excited about with what Broderick does? Oh, look at him in space. He's moving bodies. He's still got to grow too in his pass protection. That's just me. I'm done. My bad.
Cody says, hey, Bo, do you think that Mike Sullivan and Eddie Faulkner have plays that are designed specifically for the playoffs, like that one that they used against the Ravens, meaning the 71-yard touchdown?
We spoke about this a little while. There's not too many ways you can deviate against the plan that's already been laid out. I told you guys before when we went from Bruce Arians to Randy Finkner and even Todd Haley, most of the playbook remain the same because the system can work. It's a matter of tweaks. Todd Haley made us throw it quicker, get the ball out of Ben's hand. Short routes, get the guys going.
That's interesting.
Playbook was essentially the same.
Yeah,
we added more.
I think a lot of times, especially since Deontay told me about this in Baltimore, I reported it, and everybody got all excited, thinking, "Aha, that's it! That's another nail in Matt Canada's coffin." You don't need that. Just win the games.
No, and we added more no huddle with Todd, and then we did similar things with Randy too. If we just being real, the flow of the plays that a OC calls is what probably gets them higher to fire. Also, players dropping balls and stuff too.
Tyler Johnson says, "Hey, Moan, do you run early or throw early in this game?"
This is a run early type of game.
Yeah, it sure is.
Yeah, nah, Tyler, ain't no other. This is, and I'm sure with Coach Tomlin and Sean McDermott being good friends, we gonna see probably a low scoring game because they gonna both probably say the same thing: run the daggone ball and control the line of scrimmage. That's what this is.
We get a lot of questions about Corey Trice. I think it's going to be obviously
I like
more
that,
of
though.
Yeah, it's kind of neat. Hayden says, what's the word on Trice's recovery? Is there still excitement that he can be CB2 alongside JPJ? I have a couple of things to say about this. One is that the young man's around, which I like, in a very Calvin Austin sense. Calvin Austin talked to me last summer about how he wanted to consider this year 2 for him, because of all the work that he had done in the building, all of the film study that he'd done. And he wanted to hit the ground literally running, and he did, to his credit.
Mm-hmm.
I get that same sense from Corey Trice. However, we had people who follow this team anointing him as some sort of superstar based on a couple of Latrobe scrimmages, and I just want to, okay?
Yeah.
And that happens a lot. We have these instant rock stars at St. Vincent College, and everybody's got to go easy. That is a complex, layered position that involves a lot of failure and how you adjust to that failure. We haven't seen the first sign of Corey Trice yet in terms of what he can do. 7th round pick.
And think about the longevity of the season, too, an adjustment to play. Joey Porter Jr. even had his transgressions earlier on, did he not, DK?
Oh, yeah.
We haven't, I'm knocking on wood, seen a lot of him in the conversation about the grabbiness. So you guys see it, I'm knocking on wood, right? Like, you adjust as a pro, and I think Joey Porter Jr. has done well with that.
Oh, we have our get that crown out. This is our question of the day. Joshua Dobbs says, hey, Moan, as an offensive line, when you see the Bills roll out a nickel defense 90% of the time, it's actually a little higher than that, Josh. Does that make you drool like a rabid dog and just bully them with the bigs? He wants to see a 13 or 14 formation here. I want to see 3 tight ends, 22, 14, and play action.
Love that. Yes, you do salivate. If we can trust our guys to do that. And I think in the last 3 weeks, you've been able to trust them that they can move the line of scrimmage. But I'll say this too, they're not half-stepping in Buffalo. They have a top 5 defense as far as the stats say and as far as the amount of points being scored against them too. They are very stingy. They heavily invested in first and second round talent when it comes down to the guys that are on their roster. Vaughn is playing a role and not really even playing big time for them. Ed Oliver is a big time vet for that squad up front too, led by him. If they can control Ed Oliver and his attitude, if he's over Isaac, I trust it. If he's over James Daniels, I'm watching it, because he's the straw to me now that stirs what they got going on because of attitude. He's a never die. F you, screw them, watch us do work. If you can control Ed Oliver, you got a real good job of controlling Greg Rousseau, Leonard Floyd, AJ Epinesa, all of these dudes. You have a way better chance. Jordan Phillips, is he still there too? Big body dude.
They have so many dudes.
They invested
really
heavy.
But when you're out there as a nickel, that's where the snow might affect things, where Sean McDermott just says, listen, I know what we usually do here, but we're going to have to put some people up at the line of scrimmage because they're not going to pass as much because of the snow and whatever else here. That's where the chess game starts to come in. But if it turns out to be just a conventional football game, Buffalo loves the nickel.
They do.
They love to get small.
Mm-hmm.
And as a result, and I went through some of these numbers myself last night. I'm going to read a couple of them for you here.
Please do, DK. I'll take numbers every once in a while.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
This is over the last couple of months. Austin Eckler from the Rams averaged 5.6 yards per carry against the Bills. Tony Pollard, Cowboys, 4.7 yards per carry. Devon Achane, 5.6.
He crushed him.
He sure did. DeAndre Swift, 5.7. The only guys in that span that the Bills were able to slow down and to not allow them to basically run all over them were whatever's left of Ezekiel Elliott, and it's not much.
And that line ain't that good up there.
And Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who's just a little dude.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Other than that, Buffalo got run on. Buffalo can get run on. And I have a feeling that the cleaner that atmosphere is and the cleaner that playing surface is, if that's the way it turns out, they're going to go nickel.
So the other part of that to me is this too. They got a lot of talent, and other than Ed and Jordan Phillips, they're young. I do trust our guys, especially if Broderick is growing up this week. Especially that, because you even said the run blocking with Dan Moore you love. And if we can control that pace of it, we got something this weekend. And man, there's so much for this weekend. I can't freaking wait, DK.
Trucker James says, hey, Moan, if the wind and snow turn this game into a running fest, how do you like the Steelers running backs versus Buffalo's running backs?
I'm going to take ours. Name me a better time.
I was just going to say, how about just put it versus anybody's at this point? The last 3 weeks count. Momentum counts, right, Moan?
It does.
You were there for December football.
And I like what James Cook can do, but I also like our guys in space. Like, let's don't underestimate your dudes. This is why we also said you ain't got to pick between Najee and Jalen, although we were. But you ain't got to, because you get a yin and a yang man that continuously works so far in Pittsburgh.
No, it's been it's been neat to watch this tandem, but what we're seeing now, we're seeing them run down bleeping hill for a month.
And you know what's even more too? The fact that you had Pat Freiermuth excited about it in Seattle. And we know what Darnell's going to bring, right? And then Cam brother comes out there, they can be your jack of all trade, catching the ball. Oh, and Pat can catch too. That's the uniqueness of what we have. So if pace, and I know they got 2 tight ends on their team too. They're not blockers like ours.
They can make plays. Yeah, there's no doubt about that. All right, guys, we'll be right back in just a moment. William McDuffie says, I always wanted both. Boom and zoom. Boom and zoom.
Can you imagine?
And that's there's not a tandem that's been more productive in the last 3 weeks. So this isn't us coming up with some kind of opinion here.
Yeah, no,
okay?
It's not.
You know who's the number 1 quarterback in the National Football League over the last 3 weeks?
Oh, Mason Rudolph.
Mason Rudolph.
By the way, you had a longer shout out for me yesterday too. It's pretty cool too. I saw the rest of it. But Mason's he's doing the thing the way he's supposed to correctly.
But he's the number 1 quarterback in the National Football League over the last 3 weeks.
Right timing.
He's the first Pittsburgh quarterback to start a playoff game since Ben Roethlisberger.
Wow. Imagine that, DK. Good.
This is why I'm always saying people want predictions. You can't do predictions.
We can't. It's hard.
There's no predictions.
It's hard, DK. I'm excited for this weekend. I saw a couple people asking the question on the betting side, man. Why do you think the line is so big against what Pittsburgh got going on? And why is the noise so loud with the lack of respect for Pittsburgh too? We hadn't done it in a while, but also on the Vegas side of it, they want that money.
Yeah.
If the money's all on Buffalo -10, that's if Pittsburgh play this game, that's almost too obvious. It's almost it's like those dudes that was fishing years back that had like astronomical weights in their fish. Like that fish ain't that big to be that heavy.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. Cat Manada invests $4.99 in informing us that he too has access to Wikipedia by letting us know that lake effect snow is produced during cooler atmospheric conditions when a cold air mass moves across long expanses of warmer lake water. Still doesn't mean you know what makes it different. Like when you watch it snow in Buffalo, do you go, oh yeah, this is that lake effect snow. Look here, look, it's the lake effect snow.
Lake effect snow. No, that's the copy and paste right there. But I believe you though, Matt. Cat Manada. I believe
Tyler Johnson doesn't. He wants him fired.
The Cat Manada. It just means more snow.
Is that what he said?
Yeah, it just means more snow.
More snow. It just means that more of it shows up. Boss has no use for my lake effect snow commentary. Oh, we're not being mean to Cat Manada. She's misunderstanding.
Cat Manada is very sarcastic.
I think she thinks we're talking about the one who was fired.
Oh, Cat Manada.
Oh, about the one I met.
Oh. So here's one thing. Then we're gonna have to roll here too. Is TJ worth the touchdown in Vegas?
TJ, I don't believe, comes into the equation for the betting line. Didn't you say yourself? And other people have said it's all quarterbacks.
Only people that move the line is the quarterback.
So having the number one quarterback in the league for a month straight doesn't move the line.
Because they don't know if they can trust him in playoff ball. But if I was 500 in the playoffs too, like Josh Allen, I don't know why they can trust him too. I do think if Pittsburgh wins, this is a money grab for Vegas. The house never loses. If you telling me, you guys go ahead and put money on the -10. We'll see what happens on Monday, Sunday night.
Brent Haynes says, great show again later. I got to go. Moan's got to go. I got to go cover hockey. Penguins versus Canucks tonight. We'll see everybody tomorrow.
Yeah. See you, good people.